I think this is the first formal podcast you've done since coming back, since making your return.
Yes.
And a little controversial, right? That it would be with me. So I'd love to, AJ was very clear that she would love to do the podcast, but on one condition, that we actually addressed, what we went through.
Yeah.
So I'd love for you to just kind of set the table.
I love to just jump right into that.
Yeah,
Because I felt the first thing I thought was like, people are going to they're going to think that we're going to like glaze past it or like not address it, or like, it's an elephant in the room. But it's something I feel like in a weird way, we're both kind of proud of, like how far we've come. And so long time ago, the women's division was in a different spot. And it felt like an uphill battle a lot of the time. And I was one of the first people really fighting for it quite vocally. And I think when you are sort of the first to do something, you get hurt storming the gates,
Sure.
It's a little rougher, but I think it's worth it because it opens a path for people that come behind you. But there was an incident on Twitter in which you had posted about equal pay.
Yeah, I think it was Patricia Arquette.
Patricia Arquette.
At one of the award shows had talked about equal pay.
Yes.
And I did a hashtag use your voice.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was the trending hashtag or just what, but I amplified it.
Yeah. And then I retweeted it. And I said, wow, like, while we're talking about use your voice, we don't get equal pay, essentially. Yeah, we're bringing in more eyeballs than a lot of the men. And we don't have any time.
We can put it up here because it wasn't like.
Oh, I don't even remember
what
it was.
Direct.
It was probably pretty feisty.
It was, but that's great. But
Yeah.
so it says, because I'll read it since we were talking about how bad all of our vision is. Your female wrestlers have record-selling merchandise and have starred in some of the highest-rated segments of the show several times. Is that it? I thought there was more.
Up, you go back up.
Oh, and yet they receive a fraction of the wages and screen time of the majority of the male roster. Hashtag use your voice.
Yeah. And that to me felt, I liked, in general, I'm fairly direct. I try not to be rude. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I have no filter, and so it's an excuse for being rude. But like, I think you can be direct, but very practical. And so I felt like it was coming from like a practical place, very direct, but I also was a bit like, I ain't got nothing to lose right now.
Yeah.
and
you were champ at the
and
time.
I was champ
so
at the
actually
time.
you did have a lot to lose.
But to me,
I mean, the courage
yeah.
that not only that, right, but the courage that it took to fight for what you believed
Right.
in. And, the fact that you really were a different character, than any type of stereotype. Like you came out of nowhere and the audience loved you from the start.
Yeah.
I mean, they really did. They just connected with you in such a special and unique way. And I appreciate your directness. I'm a direct person as well. I'm sure some people think I'm rude, but I don't mean to be. Like, to your point, I hate all the BS. Like,
Yes.
let's just have the conversation.
Yeah.
And I was actually it's funny because I was preparing for the interview and I was looking that up. That's how I knew what it was. And I read like all the backstage gossip about what happened. And I was like, oh my God, I don't even think I knew that
everything
at
wrong?
the time. Yeah. It's just so interesting because
Yeah.
people never really know. Right.
No.
But I was actually happy that you posted that. I wasn't happy that it was directed at me because it wasn't anything I had direct control over. But I was really happy that you did because that movement, the whole women's evolution in WWE, it didn't happen because of executives or it didn't happen because, I mean, maybe along the way, people voicing their opinions, but it really happened because of the women who paved the way all the way back to the beginning of all of these incredible women who have been inside the squared circle, no matter what promotion they were in. But then for our audience, when they started the hashtag Give Divas a Chance at that time, that's what couldn't be ignored.
Yeah.
And the audience would never have gotten behind the movement if it weren't for people like you.
Thank you.
who actually stood up for women publicly. And I mean, like, take on the machine a little bit,
Great.
you know?
Thank you. I
Like, it was a
appreciate
big
that.
deal, I thought, you know?
I appreciate that. And I feel like change doesn't happen unless there's sacrifice, unless there's you have to be willing to lose everything to get what you want. And I feel like that in every aspect of life, like you playing it safe doesn't work. Playing it safe might give you a safe life,
Right,
but I don't know if it gives you an exceptional life.
right.
And so I felt like that was worth it, whatever backlash was going to be. But I thought you were cool after, like everyone was pretty chill and like,
Yeah.
it was business, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that. But you know, it was a rough
But
time.
but yeah, I mean, and there was a lot of things
There was a
happening
lot
at that
happening.
time.
Yeah,
So
There's a
I'm
lot.
sure everyone could read into it however they wanted, but it
Yeah.
was so important.
yeah.
You know, it was a really important public facing step. But I would love to actually just dig into what you said, because I
Yeah.
think it's really, really important that you grow during the hard times.
Yes.
Right? It's during the safe times, the happy times, they're wonderful, but that's not where you truly grow as a human being. I would love to hear even other examples of, you know, different things you've struggled with, you've overcome, some of those hard things that have made you who you are today.
Right. Well, I think one of the reasons
A little runny nose, sorry.
it's freezing here.
Yes, that's New York. Yeah.
I think one of the reasons I am someone who likes to take a chance is because I did start at complete rock bottom. My story starts in New Jersey. I grew up with two very young parents who didn't have the tools, weren't given the tools to, be adults and raise children. And so we sort of all learned how to do life together. And,
That's a fascinating perspective.
it was interesting, you got to learn how to open a bank account on your own and teach your parents how to do that kind of stuff. And, they teach you how to steal cable, and everyone kind of figures it out. And so we're very adultified, very young. And one of the things about being born into a cycle of poverty is there is no way out. It's the system very much kind of entrenches you in it. And the only way out is to be exceptional and take, that's why a lot of athletes, a lot of actors, have started in these hard sort of beginnings, because there really is no way out unless you are on television, in sports, something that is just such a wild leap. That's sometimes the only way to break out of it. School was very expensive, couldn't afford it. I tried.
Well, you mean for college?
For college, yeah.
because you were accepted into NYU.
Yeah. So grew up very, very poor, was homeless for most of my life. I've told the story a million times, but I'm very proud of it. So I tell it proudly. I wouldn't have changed it for the world. It taught me about what's important in life, what I value, what I don't need. So I've literally had nothing. Literally lived in a car, lived in porches during the winter that people would let us, stay in their garages, or like a screened-in porch, or motels.
And you have two siblings?
I have two siblings, two older
So
siblings.
was it all five of you?
All five of us, and a 100-pound pit bull.
Oh, wow.
And we would sleep in the car together sometimes in the
Would you
backseat.
feed the pit bull before yourself?
Always.
Of course.
Yes.
What was his or her name?
Mugsy.
Mugsy.
Love of my life.
Oh.
Yeah. And
Kept you warm.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And
Love is love, right?
It is. You just figure out what you need, and there's really no way up except for up from there. And so,
But I don't think that's to your point, like, yes, exceptional circumstances, but I think exceptional people make it out. And you have to have that inside you. You have to have that drive. You have to have that grit. You have to have whatever that is that makes you special and different. And even your perspective on it. And I'm sure you've gotten there over time, but to think of it as your parents not having the tools, like that's giving them a lot of credit also. That how young were they?
they were probably still teens. They were probably
Yeah.
17 when they had us. So
can't imagine that.
You have to give them grace, and
Yeah, but not everybody can
it's
do
not
that.
easy.
Yeah.
But I think
Realize in that moment as a kid that they were that young and that you kind of had to, or you gain that perspective later?
you gain it way later.
Okay.
When you're in it, you just think like, oh, this is life. Like we all figure out how to pay the bills together.
Right.
Like I was the janitor when I was 14 at a daycare to like help pay the bills, you know? And so that stuff is just second nature. You don't, it's all kind of relative. You know, sometimes I'll like, I sort of sound like Phoebe from Friends, like saying something really traumatic and I'm like laughing and everyone else is so disturbed. But you don't know. It's all relative, right? And so only through perspective and therapy do you go, oh, that was kind of fucked up. Yeah. maybe I shouldn't have had to survive these certain things or had responsibility on my shoulders at such a young age. But when you're going through it, I think it just makes you tougher. And I wouldn't have changed a single thing now because it worked out for me.